have a stipulation that we could probably address to the court prior to getting started. There's a DVD of some surveillance video footage at City Hall. Mr. Bryant and I both have had an opportunity to review it, and we're going to stipulate into the record that that is an accurate representation of what happened on June 2nd.
That's correct.
Have the witness been sworn?
No, sir.
No.
The one's going to testify, would you please raise your right hand? I solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
I do.
Just have to see.
Just will.
Okay, who is your party representative?
Your Honor, it would be Mr. Burnett would need to be let out of the courtroom. You would be the second witness, and Mr. Souza would be the first witness.
Okay, very good. And this gentleman, Kerley. Yeah. We'll call you as your name, gentleman.
Mr. Souza.
You would come up here and have a seat, please. Speak in the microphone for us.
State your name for the record, please.
Pedro Edward Souza.
Your Honor, if I may, Mr. Bryant and I have also discussed that the warrant appears to be a date of June the 6th, 2016. The actual date of the offense of the state will be amending the warrant to state as June the 2nd, 2016.
That's fine.
Again, your name is? What is your name?
Pedro Edward Souza.
All right, Mr. Souza, you're a resident here of Cumberland County.
I am.
And back on June 2nd, 2016, were you at the City Hall here in Crossville, Cumberland County, Tennessee?
I was, sir.
Can you tell the court what you were doing on that day?
It was a workshop doing city business, sir.
On that day, were you familiar with, and today, are you familiar with a gentleman by the name of Jesse Kerley?
I am, sir.
Do you see Mr. Kerley here in the courtroom?
I do, sir.
Could you identify him for the court,
The
please?
gentleman on the right-hand side in the blue tie, sir.
Who's he sitting next to? His attorney?
His attorney.
Your Honor, that's the record reflect that the witnesses identified Mr. Jesse Kerley.
So noted.
On that day, was Mr. Kerley present at City Hall?
He was.
What happened after the City Hall or the business meeting retired for the evening?
Mr. Kerley exited the meeting right away. I lingered for a few minutes. Then I walked downstairs, and at that time, I met Mr. Kerley, or Mr. Kerley met me in aggressive, animated, angry mode.
Can you describe how it is that you're describing those things, but can you explain how it is, what it is you saw? That made you believe
He was vocally aggressive. He was bouncing back and forth. He was pretty stimulated and excited. His father was down there,
Who's his father?
Jerry Kerley.
Then what happened?
He was ranting, and then he said, "Let's talk outside," or something like that. So he moved forward out through the doors. I started to exit out the door, and his dad came up right up against me, blocked me, and then Jesse was moving away to the left. His dad said something. I turned around, and then I was struck very, very hard.
Who were you struck by?
Jerry Kerley, or Jesse Kerley, rather.
The gentleman that's in the courtroom now.
That's correct.
And where did he strike?
In the chest.
Can you describe to the court how it is that he struck you?
No, because my face was toward his father, and then when I was struck, I was knocked backwards. It was a significant, strong blow, whether it was his fist or elbow, shoulder, I don't know.
How did that make you feel?
Put me automatically in a defensive mode for self-preservation.
Were you scared? You in fear?
What I saw, sir, was the same thing I saw many years ago in line of duty when a person wanted to kill me. Okay, I've seen that several times. I was afraid. I thought that we were there was going to be serious deadly force
By who?
by Mr. Kerley. He was crazy.
After Mr. Kerley made contact with you, making you fall backwards, what happened then?
He swirled around in what would be called either Roman Greco wrestling or some kind of defense mode, and started to come towards me. I saw out of the side of my eyes, I saw his dad shift. I turned around, walked back through the doors upstairs to Chief Show and told him we had business.
Where was Mr. Jerry Kerley, Jesse's dad, when this was going on?
Directly behind me.
And at any point during this incident with Mr. Jesse Kerley, did he say anything to you?
Jerry?
No, sir. At any point prior to, during, or after the incident with Jesse Kerley, did Jesse Kerley say anything to you? Did he make any threats to you? Did he make any statements to you? Down in the lobby he did. What did he tell you?
He said something to the fact of kicking my ass.
Where did you go after this incident happened?
Chief Show told me to go home, he'd take care of it in the morning. I turned around and
And at some point later, did you obtain a affidavit of complaint for the assault that was committed against you by Mr. Jesse Kerley?
I did.
I have no further questions.
You were struck in the chest, you said, by Mr. Jesse Kerley, is that right?
Yes, sir, I did.
And you were having an exchange with his father at that time, did I understand you correctly?
He made a statement, I made one statement.
When you say he, you're talking about Mr. Kerley's father.
That's correct.
As I understood your testimony, you were looking toward Mr. Kerley's father when you say you got struck in the chest.
That's correct.
So how do you know who struck you or if you were?
He was the only one in the parking lot.
Okay. So no one else was around?
Nobody else was around except Howard had exited beforehand, and later in the video I saw that he was directly in the car, but at that time I didn't.
Who is Howard? I mean,
a person.
Howard who? I mean, I'm asking who Howard.
I forgot who Howard's last name right now, actually.
All right. Is he an acquaintance of yours? Do you know him?
I know.
How do you know him?
Relative to some political action.
Like, is he, when you were campaigning, was he campaigning for you? Or?
No.
Okay. Is he a friend of yours?
No.
Just an acquaintance?
Yes.
How often you seen him up to this point? You've seen him regularly?
No, at that point, other than I may have seen him in the audience a time or two, but no, I had not seen him in a while. I can't tell you. I don't have a clue.
Where was the car?
Directly in front of the doors.
What color was it?
I don't remember.
Okay. Now, you made a report to, as you said, then Chief Show, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And no official police action was taken. In other words, my question being, the police department didn't take a warrant out for my client, did they?
I'm not going to answer for the police department. I don't know what the police department
But do you know if the police department took a warrant out?
It's not relevancy at this point. It's not relevant to the determination of the issue.
It's very relevant to the determination. It goes to someone else making a probable cause determination and felt like perhaps there wasn't even ground to file a warrant on trial on the merits.
Cross-examination, you got a problem with that too, man.
Are you aware whether the city police department filed charges against my client?
I know that the police chief went to the DA. What happened between the DA and the police chief, I can't testify.
Okay. But what you do know is that the first and only charge that was filed was by the affidavit that you had issued on or about August 5th of this year. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct, sir. I don't know of any other.
Can I recall the warrant?
Sure.
On that approach. And your document. Is that your signature?
It is.
Left-hand side and your type name above it.
It is.
And sworn and subscribed for me this, what's that date say?
It'll be August 5th, I believe.
All right. And so that's the charge that you called with that brought, is that right?
I'd say that's correct, sir. I'm not quite sure legally how that works.
And so that's some 2 months or so after this alleged incident that you filed charges, is that right?
That's what I would, what,
That's what it
that's
happened.
correct, yes.
Yes. Judge, that's all.
Statement called Howard Bennett.
Mr. Souza, you're welcome to sit up here at the council table if you like. You might can hear that.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Howard Burnett, is that correct?
That's correct.
And were you at the City Hall here in Cumberland County, Crossville, Tennessee, back on June 2nd, 2016?
Yes, I was.
On that day, were you there during a work session?
It was a work session on the second floor of the building.
At some point after the work session concluded, did you leave the second floor?
Yes, I did. Almost immediately following. I didn't stand around and visit a lot. Went ahead and wanted to go ahead and make my exit and began going down the stairs.
Can you describe for the court what happened as you walked down the stairs?
As I was going down the stairs, I observed that Mr. Kerley was at the, Jesse Kerley was at the foot of the stairs.
Let me stop you for just a second.
Okay.
Did you see Mr. Jesse Kerley here in the courtroom?
Yes, he's right here.
Can you describe where he's sitting?
On the right side of that table.
State what asking the court. So that the record is what is written by Mr. Kerley. So you saw Mr. Kerley standing in the lobby of City Hall?
He was actually more at kind of at the foot of the steps, which was a concern to me because I was afraid that perhaps I might be harmed trying to exit the building.
Okay. What happened then?
I decided instead of making an immediate exit, I went to the water fountain, which is to the left. So I hit the bottom, went to the left to basically pretend to be getting water to see when it was safe for me to make an exit out that door at the foot of those steps so that I could basically get by him.
What happened after you went to the water fountain?
Okay, I observed that someone else approached him and they had a conversation going. I don't know who the other gentleman was, but he was in a conversation. So I assumed then they would be safe for me to make a quick exit past him. So I darted past, went on out to get into my vehicle and leave.
Where was your vehicle located?
I was parked immediately outside. This is the exit with a large parking lot is in it. There's the airlock entrance. And my car was in the first spot facing those exit doors, immediately facing that.
So did you go to your car?
Yes, I did.
When you got to your car, what did you do?
Opened it, unlocked the door, opened it, began to buckle up my seatbelt and start the car. I was going to leave.
How far is your car, where you were parked from the front door or the door to City Hall?
Yeah, it's the very first row of parking spaces. I would estimate without a tape measure, I don't know, 30, maybe 40 feet, I don't know, somewhere in that area. But it's the very first parking spots.
What kind of car did you have?
I have a Ford C-Max.
What color did you remember?
What color?
Yes.
It's a red car.
All right. What happened after you buckled your seatbelt? Were you looking at the front door?
Actually, I was parked facing it, so I was actually looking through the windshield of the car. I observed that Mr. Kerley was standing to the right of the door, just a few feet to the right of the door. And I observed him there as I was basically getting ready to leave.
What did you see Mr. Kerley doing?
He was just kind of there. I mean, I didn't notice him doing anything in particular. They were just kind of hanging around on the right side of that door.
Yes, sir. And then what happened?
Within just seconds or so of that, Mr. Souza exited the beginning, started his exit from the building. And then Mr. Kerley then approached him very rapidly. And in fact, he didn't use a fist. I couldn't observe it. It wasn't like a fist hit, but he used either his shoulder like this or perhaps it was like this. I couldn't see from his angle exactly how he made contact, but made a very strong contact with Mr. Souza. Did not take him off his feet, but clearly made very strong contact with Mr. Souza.
So you saw Jesse Kerley make contact with Pete Souza?
Yes, sir.
What did you see what Mr. Souza did after contact was made? Did he stand where he was? Did he fall backwards? Did he fall down? What happened?
He did not fall down. Mr. Kerley retreated some, and Mr. Souza immediately began pursuing him.
And then what happened?
He took just a few steps. I was afraid it was going to break out into an absolute brawl there on the sidewalk. So I opened up my door and began coming out. I said, we're going to have to pull the two of them apart.
So you get out of your car?
Yes.
Start to come towards the doorway?
Yes.
What happens then?
Well, Mr. Souza did not get all the way up to him and actually, then began fisticuffs. So he stopped. And so at that point they were just basically standing there. So I then approached the two of them as they were up there. And by the time that all occurred, then I'm at the door there with them.
And you went back inside?
Mr. Souza made the comment, he said, he was talking to Mr. Kerley, made the comment to the effect of, you've just bought yourself assault charge, I think is his word, something to that effect. Chief Show was still upstairs. He had not exited the meeting yet or left that room yet. So the three of us began going back upstairs. Mr. Souza, I believe, was in the lead. I did not want to be in second position. I wanted to be behind. I did not want Jesse Kerley behind me, so I fell into third position. And we went upstairs and then reported to Chief Show what had happened.
Yes, sir. At any time prior to seeing Mr. Kerley exit the building, did you see Pete Souza do anything to Jesse Kerley?
No.
At any time prior to Jesse Kerley shoving, pushing back Pete Souza, did you see Pete Souza do anything to Jesse Kerley? Prior to the shove,
Yeah.
that Jesse Kerley gave Pete Souza, did you see Mr. Souza do anything?
No, he had not actually. He was no.
And after Jesse Kerley shoved, pushed, whatever term you'd like to use,
yes,
Mr. Souza, did you see Mr. Souza do anything to Mr. Kerley?
No, he did not make contact with it. He was taking steps to pursue him, but he broke off that pursuit before he actually approached him.
And then went where? Upstairs?
Well, by that time I'm there, and the three of us go upstairs to report to Chief Show.
No further questions.
How do you know Mr. Souza, Mr. Burnett?
He's a city council member.
Do you know him in any other respect other than a city council member? If Mr. Souza says that you were, I believe the word was political, I don't know if affiliate would be the right word. Is there some connection there?
Well, I support when he ran for city council. I was voted for him and encouraged him, for people to vote for him.
Have you communicated with Mr. Souza about this incident since it occurred?
Probably so. I don't remember any specifics.
Have you discussed your testimony with Mr. Souza?
No. I mean, I let him know that I had observed what happened.
Did you see Mr. Souza swing at Mr. Kerley?
Say that again?
Did you see Mr. Souza swing at Mr. Kerley?
No, he did not swing at him.
Or at least you did see it.
I observed no such thing.
Now, as I understood your testimony, you were at this work session where you were just there as a concerned citizen?
Yes.
Were you there?
Yeah, concerned citizen.
All right. And you, for some reason, you expressed that you were fearful as you were leaving, but you didn't leave right away. You went and pretended to get water until you felt it was safe to exit. Is that right?
That's correct.
But then you went to your car, but you didn't leave.
Oh, I was in the process of starting the car and backing out. I mean, all of this occurred within seconds. Before, in another few seconds, I would have actually been out of the parking
So
lot.
when this supposed melee was about to occur, you were afraid beforehand, so that's why you were in your car, correct? You were afraid as you were leaving. You wanted to get out of there so there wouldn't be any problems.
I did not want, Mr. Kerley to have me trapped in any area that I could not safely exit city council.
So when this melee happened, instead of sitting safely in your car and calling for assistance, you got out and went towards what could have been the melee. That wasn't showing any signs of fear, was it? You weren't afraid then. You were trying to break up a fight.
I was going to go to help break up the fight because it looked like it was going to be a melee between the two.
Leaving the safety of your car where you could have called, you had a cell phone, did you?
No.
Could have rolled your window down and said, hey, get some help over here. But you went towards this, what you described as a potential melee.
That's correct.
That's all.
You may sit down.
If you're willing to say, you're free to go.
Colonel, may we approach? For the record, we've got a video that we stipulated to that will record an understanding of surveillance from City Hall.